3, 2, 1.
Wisecrackers.
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 Wisecrackers. Starting now.
Welcome to Let's Get Crackin, the first college segment. Unfortunately, we had some errors with the first one, but we're just in time for March Madness, and we're going to be going over round one, which ended last night. So, starting off, we got Oakland versus Kentucky. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think it was the definition of a bracket buster. Interesting story. My sister went to Oakland, so cool for her, but she doesn't even care about college sports. She only likes pro sports. So I was like, Meredith is kind of a big deal. And she's like, but whatever. Gosh, just shooting by that Jack guy.
Goalkey.
Yeah, Jack Golke. Like, that was insane. He got 32 points.
All right.
Here's a fun fact that I found out. Oakland became the 23rd, 14th seed to defeat a third seed. They most definitely controlled this game with their three-point shooting. The Golden Grizzlies, what a hell of a name that is, hit 15 of their 31 attempts from behind the arc. Senior Jack Goyle, like my boy Pat Roosh just said, had 32 points, shot 10 to 20 from the three. Majority of those shots were in the first half, but every shot that he made in that first half was so important. Every single shot was like super dynamic. I believe he left the first half with 21 points, hitting 7 threes. But I want to also give a shout out to Trey Townsend, who was amazing in the paint. Had 17 points, 12 rebounds, was cleaning up on the glass, pretty much just kept Kentucky at bay the entire game as they continued to keep it very close. That Kentucky team had some decent NBA talent that they felt like was NBA talent, like Antonio Reeves, who had 27 points. He was balling, especially at the very tail end of the second half. He hit some really big shots. But, Oakland they just had their number. And I feel like most of it comes down to the fact that a lot of those guys are seniors and juniors. They're in their last couple of years in college. And they don't know the next time they're going to get this chance. The Wildcats will be back here next year, maybe 2 years from now, because they're always getting top-tier talent. But what Oakland was able to do was just super special. Just have to say it. Just have to let that be known.
Yeah, I mean, touched on quite a lot there. Oakland's as a whole shot 48.4% from three, 15 of 31. I think personally, when I look at my bracket busters, there's three things I look for. You need to be able to play at least a 5-man game, whether that's 3 starters and 2 off the bench or 2 starters and 3 off the bench. I need to be able to believe that 5 of your players are going to turn up. I need to believe that the team that you're up against is overrated, which Kentucky absolutely were. High-end talent can only take you so far if you haven't got the balance, if you haven't got the work ethic. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. In terms of the other thing that I look for, it's rebounding. And while Golke is rightly getting a lot of the plaudits, Trey Townsend was absolutely superb on the boards.
Absolutely.
12 rebounds, 4 assists, 17 points. The amount of putbacks. It was just the archetypal bracket busting performance. Or maybe not even bracket busting because I think a lot of people will have had UK going far, but I think I had them only winning this game.
I had him in the Final Four in one of my brackets. So kind of didn't do good for me.
I just think a lot of players for Kentucky really, really let themselves down. Dillingham's supposed to be going in the draft. He played all right. Reed Shepherd.
I think he shot 9 from the field in that game.
Yeah, Reed Shepherd's draft stock just plummeted after
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, I'm sorry. You cannot put up 3 points in 26 minutes. You just can't. It's like, maybe he'll be a steal for someone now because kid's got talent, but that's a major worry. The one kid who probably improved his draft stock was Antonio Reeves, because when everyone around him was failing, he took the ball and he said that I'm going to try and shoot us back into this game. And he ended up putting up 27 points in 35 minutes, which is more than respectable. But the rest of them, they basically did what a lot of people thought they were. And yeah, the talent's there, but without that focus, without that belief, without that hard work, you're not going to go anywhere.
I want to also give a shout out to on Kentucky side, Trey Mitchell. He played pretty well as well. He had a 14 and 13 double double. Got 4 of those rebounds on the offensive side, and kind of was like one of the engines keeping Kentucky in it outside of Reeves, who was just hitting outrageous shots at the tail end of that. But
That almost makes what Trey Townsend was doing even more impressive because Trey Mitchell came to play.
yeah, because Townsend, I believe, sometime in the second half, smacks the ball out and gets another possession for the GGs, and I think it resulted in either a Goki 3 or a DQ Cole 3, which pretty much put the game out of reach and helped Oakland move on in one of the bigger upsets in this tournament.
Oh,
I mean,
that's a
good.
huge
The one
upset.
thing I'd say as well, though, is did you hear what goal he was saying?
He says we're
When
not
they said,
Cinderella.
no, it's a Cinderella story. You say, no, we're not a Cinderella. This team can beat anyone.
They have a very decent second round matchup, if I'm not mistaken. NC State,
Number 11 Sid.
they probably could beat them.
The next game we have Yale versus Auburn.
This was a genuine shock to me. I didn't see it coming at all. The difference again was the 3-point shot, the great equalizer, 9 from 20, beat 7 from 20. It was literally that's what won the game. Obviously, again, rebounds, you've got to be able to rebound. It was 35 rebounds to 30, so that keeps it close. That was in favour of Auburn, but as long as you can, battle on the glass, you're always going to have a chance. Yale played some lovely basketball, and when it came to the clutch, they made some big plays down the stretch. And again, it's one of those ones that after the fact, you go, probably should have seen it coming. But I was high on Auburn. I had Auburn in my Final Four. I really did. And I think that Yale are a live danger because beating Kentucky with the high-end talent that they've got is one thing, but beating an Auburn team that throughout the season showed that they had the depth, they could raise their game when it mattered, they showed character. That was a big shock for me. Big shock. And congratulations to Yale because that was a proper upset. Like,
Interesting enough, the Auburn team coming up their SEC title. But Yale was looking to get their second NCAA tournament win. So such like this, like who the frick had Yale excited from people in New Haven, Connecticut. Like the game
even
was a pure
seed
shock.
wise, it's a really weird one because obviously seeding wise, Oakland beating Kentucky was more of a shock and people would say it. But when I'm looking at that, I think Yale beating Auburn is kind of more of a shock to me because I could see reasons why Kentucky wouldn't turn up. I could see reasons why Kentucky were there for the taking. I didn't see it with Auburn. I thought Auburn were going to come in and lay down a market. And that's why it really impressed me what Yale were able to do.
I agree with you 100%. Another fun fact, Yale is the 33rd, 13th seed to be the 4th seed in the tournament. This is also their second tournament win ever. But yeah, like you said, like Auburn, they were in this game the entire time. It's not like a Kentucky situation where they got like smacked in the face and they just weren't able to and they had to like make a comeback later on. But this game was incredibly close the entire way. I want to give a shout out to Junior John Broome, who led the way for the Tigers, 24 points, 13 boards, 4 assists and 2 steals, going super efficient from the field, shooting 7 to 10. And he was just mental on the glass. 6 of those boards were offensive, and in the first half, the Tigers scored on all 3 of his offensive rebounds. He was really the catalyst that kept this team rolling. But the Bulldogs just balling. I don't want to get his name messed up, but I know I am. John Halakidis. He shot 10 of 15 from the field and hit 6 of 9 threes, leading the way, 28 points, had some beautiful angel numbers, had 2 boards, 2 assists, and 2 steals.
I think,
And
don't quote me, but I think it's Pulakidis.
yeah, it's something like that. It's something like that.
Interestingly enough, this is the first time that Auburn loses in the round of 64 in tournament history.
Again, that's another reason why you just didn't see it go. I mean, obviously, losing Baker Mazzara to the elbow was big for the flagrant two, and that did kind of play its part. But Auburn have got more than enough depth that they should have been able to overcome that. And I don't want to take anything away from Yale because it was a real team performance. They played some lovely basketball, and like I say, even down the stretch, Auburn were coming on strong, and Yale made big plays when they needed to make big plays. And
It
that
was,
showed me a lot of intelligence and a lot of composure. They didn't let it get away from them.
and one thing I will say, Yale played super well the entire half. They came into that second half on fire, but then Auburn being the better team on paper just continued to make runs, continued to keep that paint presence very alive. It was just the mid-range and three-point shooting of Yale that really opened this game up. My boy John, we'll just call him John P for
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
He shot
Johnny P.
69 from the field in the second half and hit an incredible dagger late in the game. I think he hit a mid-range jumper and then he hit a three-point jumper off the run that was just excellent. Pretty much put them in a situation where they were able to take a command and lead. And at the very end, the Tigers had many chances to at least tie the game up. But
Mhm.
Donaldson, who played incredibly well for the Tigers all throughout this game. He was like their spark plug. He like his stats weren't eye popping, but he was just everywhere that they needed him to be. But at the tail end of the game, he missed some crucial shots. He missed a three, he missed the layup, and then he also missed both free throws that would have tied it up. The second free throw being a forced miss, but the first free throw, you just can't miss those when you're down by two and you need every single point. I feel like the moment just got a little too big for him, but it's understandable, bro. It's March Madness.
Expected a bit more from Jalen Williams, I'm not going to lie. Johnny Broom only playing 26 minutes probably is what was the biggest difference for the Tigers because
He might have been in foul
I,
trouble.
yeah,
You
he
know,
was. That's what I mean. But that's him only being able to play 26 minutes. Like, if he plays 30, 32 minutes, Auburn
Mm,
probably win that game because there's no answer to him. He's going to the NBA. He's going to be a quality player. And he was the one player that Yale had no answer for. And if you look at his stats, 24 points in 26 minutes, 13 rebounds, 4 assists. He was clearly the best player on the court. It's just, unfortunately, like you say, got himself in foul trouble and but that's credit to Yale. It's intelligent basketball. They knew what
yep.
they needed to do to slow down the best player.
You had to do what you had to do.
Next up, we have Kansas versus Samford. Obviously, this game ended pretty controversially. Who wants to take the reins on this?
First thing I have to say is the right team did not win this game.
hmm.
Agreed.
That's first and foremost. The bench of the Jayhawks really was the reason why they almost lost this game. They had no type of bench scoring at all, but all five starters were able to get double digits. I want to give a shout out to Nicholas Timberlake. He played pretty well. He's the only starter that did not get 30 minutes. He only played 26 minutes, but had 19 points, 5 of 8 shooting, 3 of 6 from behind the arc. That big man, 7'2" center, Hunter Dickerson, was incredible. 20 rebounds, 19 points, 4 blocks. He was the main reason why at one moment Sanford seemed like they had no chance in hell of winning this game because he was just so dominant in the first half and helped this team get to a dominant 20-point lead at one
What
point.
happened to Dickinson?
hmm
Yeah,
I
he
know that
was
guy.
immense.
He was excellent. Uh, DeJuan Harris Jr. also played pretty big minutes. He had 13 points and 7 assists. The shooting wasn't crazy, but he was just out there really trying to like get the ball moving, get guys involved, especially Dickerson. Him and Dickerson had a lot of really good moments in time. They would just find each other.
What I find to be interesting is that like at one point Sanford was behind by 22 points.
Mhm.
And they found a way to come back into that. Like you can't rest on a new lead. My gosh, 22-point lead that Kansas had, but I don't know. When do you guys want to talk about, what?
I mean, before we get to like, I wanna also give another shout out to the Bulldogs because Sanford is also a Bulldog. They, despite being behind by a lot in this game, they were not afraid. They were able to cut this lead down mainly because of the fact that they played this incredible 1-3-1 zone that took Hunter Dickerson out of the game for the majority of that second half. Every time he got the ball, he had three bodies around him. He wasn't able to get the same amount of shots that he was able to get in the first half.
Shout out to my boy, I can't remember his surname, but Riley.
Oh,
Um,
Allen
he was making big shots, big times.
he balled out. I think he hit 4 for 4 from behind the arc. And
Yeah.
he hit like two or three threes in that second half that put them in a spot where they were able to get a good run. They were able to really like lock down in the zone and get a lot of turnovers and run the fast break because that's really where they started getting a lot of their buckets on that fast break. And then in the corner three, it was just like it was really nothing that the Jayhawks could do because, like I said, their bench was depleted. Those guys were tired in that second half. Like you could just tell they did not have the same legs they had in that first half because every time they came down in the first half, it was either a lob or a dump off pass to Hunter. They started the game off 12 of 14. They really had no answer for them in that first half. But the Bulldogs did not let that moment become too big for them. They played incredibly well. They continued to make the Jayhawks turn over the ball. And as close as they could get was about 2 points before the referees put the game in their hands, which you hate to see in any
See, this
situation.
is why
No,
the
yeah.
game today, I don't know what's going on because I'm not watching it. I'm not watching the score. I want to watch it later. But my prediction for that game is that Kansas and Gonzaga will go toe-to-toe in the first half, and then Gonzaga's bench will take over in the second half because Kansas's bench gave them absolutely nothing in that game against Sanford. And while Gonzaga deserve to be where they are, Kansas absolutely don't. The NCAA should be absolutely disgusted with the officiating from that game. That is as clean a block as you will ever see. It's one of the best chase down blocks that you will ever see. And to
Yep.
take that moment away from that kid and to take that moment away from that team, there won't even be like an investigation into it or nothing. How, with the benefit of a replay, you can't see that he's got all ball. And I was talking to you about this, Cap, before the show started. In the main highlight package, they just left that out.
Of course they do. You gotta
That's
go.
Yeah.
You
that's
gotta
the
go
story of the
find.
game.
I can
The
break down.
story of the game is I am furious. Those kids deserve so much better than that. And I mean, it's nothing against Timberlake because Timberlake, the reason that it's given as a foul is because it's dangerous, right?
Mhm.
But what made it dangerous is Timberlake goes up for the dunk, which he's easily going to get. Staten McRae ends up with one of the best chase down blocks, knocks the ball out of his hand. Timberlake reacts quickly, knowing that the ball's gone, and tries to grab the rim, but misses the rim.
And then
If
falls
he
down.
grabs
He
the rim
breaks
and he
the ball.
doesn't fall the way he fell, that's not a foul.
And it's
It's not a
hard.
foul anyway, but they don't call it as a foul if he grabs the rim. He just misses the rim. That shouldn't be the difference between what's a foul and what's not a foul. I'm sorry, but basketball to some degree is a contact sport. Everyone says it's not, but it is. And anyone who's ever played basketball should laugh at the idea that basketball is not a contact sport because you'll come off the court with the bruises to prove that it absolutely is a contact sport. Something like
Yep.
that
Broken nose
is
sometimes.
just unforgivable. That's the difference between like the game of their life, the one time that those kids will ever get probably a chance to play against a school like that and show the world what they're up against and what they're made of. And they did nothing but proud. And anyone who's a Sanford Bulldogs fan, anyone who's a Yale fan, anyone who's a fan of any of these teams that either knocked out or got screwed in the first round, you should all be immensely proud of what your kids did for you.
We're all in agreement there. And
Absolutely.
we'll move on to the next game, which is Colorado versus Florida. Nail biter. Great game. What are y'all's thoughts?
You can talk about the nice aspects of the game, and I'd like to end on that because Colorado were excellent, shot 63% from the field. There's amazing moments in the game where Walter Clayton Jr. just took over the game down the stretch, made 16 points straight with no response. I think it was 16-3 or 16-6. He made all of the last 16 points, and that's what we should be talking about. And we should be talking about how good inside Colorado were and how that I can't remember his name, but the big guy. He didn't get called for the tech when he was taunting. I'm very surprised that he didn't get called for a tech. But I'm not mad at that. Let them play. That's not something that I'm ever going to be against. But if you go back and you watch that game and you tell me that that officiating wasn't massively against Florida and massively in favor of Colorado, I don't know what you're watching. And it came to a head when Alex Condon goes up. Now, I've only seen it once, but to me, it looks like a clean block. I've tried to find it on the internet to watch it again. I can't find it. Funnily enough, March Madness don't want me to see it again. The NCAA does not want me to see that again, apparently. He fouls out. Now, once he fouls out, the whole game plan has to change. And the heart that the Florida team showed against the odds, down by about 16, they deserve immense credit for that. But they were up against it all game. They were up against the ref all game. And there was one moment where a foul was called. It wasn't a foul in the act of shooting. They gave them the basket in the and one. And Troy Golden, the coach of the Gators? He loses his mind, gets a tech. These are the margins between winning and losing. Do you know what I mean? But he's absolutely right to lose his mind because the rules state that that should not be a basket and a foul. And when you keep adding these up, there's at least about 10 to 12 points that went in favor of Colorado. And that, given how close the game was, and I'm sorry, but like I'm watching it, I'm just thinking, halfway through the second half, I'm just thinking they've decided who's won this game. Colorado have won this game, and there's nothing Florida can do about it. And that's why I've got so much respect and admiration for the way Florida just kept fighting against all the odds. They got screwed. But it was a good game of basketball, a lot of points scored, so I'll hand it over to you to talk about the good side of things. But for me, I've been pissed off twice watching NCAA. Once was against Sanford and once was in this game. I think other than that, the standard of officiating has been very good.
Okay. I'd say it's interesting that Colorado was up by double digits, yet still held onto their lead with Florida mounted that impressive comeback. Calls or whatever, that's comeback was pretty, like, I thought Florida was actually going to come back and win this game. The fact that Colorado, like, held on, albeit controversial, is pretty impressive to me. And I got to admit on camera that I actually think this Colorado team's fun to watch.
It's funny enough, I predicted that this Colorado team would beat Florida before they even beat Boise State. I was just like, the winner of that first four is going to probably win that. And I think I ended up taking it in one of my brackets. But this game really came down to the size advantage of Colorado over Florida, especially in the first half. Second half, it was a little bit down to the fact that the guard play was just so dynamic for Florida that they continued to just chop away at the game. Eddie Lampkin Jr. was excellent in this game. 21.6 boards, 3 offensive, 5 assists, and shot a clean 18 of 14 from the field and 5 of 5 from the charity stripe. I mean, due to the fact that Alex Condon fouled out because his whole reasoning to being out there was pretty much to try to stop the bleeding that that Lampkin was producing. He was just outrageously good in that first half. Every time he got the ball down the block, it was the easy layup. It was really much nothing that he could do about it. But with the decent 6'11" frame that he has, he was pretty much the anchor of this team. And like you said, fouling him out was pretty much what killed the Gators' whole momentum, because outside of only scoring 6 points, he still was able to grab 7 boards, 6 assists, and get 2 blocks. One of them being on Lampkin late in that game, but Lampkin was able to get the offensive rebound and put it right back up. Tristan Da Silva was also really, really good in this game. He was another big help. His lanky frame was able to take advantage. He had 17 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, shot the ball immensely efficient, 3 for 3 from behind the arc. You got to give a shout out to KJ Sampson, who kept this team above water despite almost losing it. He hit the biggest shot.
Oh, yeah.
He hit the biggest shot, not only at the end of regulation, he hit the biggest shot at the end of the first half as well to tie it up. He had 23 points, shot 7 of 14 from the field, went 5 boards, 5 assists, able to just be everywhere on that floor. And another thing Colorado was able to do was every single player on their starting lineup contribute on the defensive side. They all was able to get a steal. and that got them in transition. That was a lot of what helped them build this lead early in the game. But you look at what you see from Will Richardson, who contributed 15 points, shot 3 of 6 from behind the arc. You look at Walter Clayton Jr., who went 4 of 10 from behind the arc, had 33 points and 2 steals. The Colorado Buffaloes had a 13-point lead with 4 minutes left, and Clayton Jr. just took over, bro. Like, at first, he just scored 2 straight layups. You thinking, all right, it's whatever. You should be able to get back down the court and continue to do what you do. But the Buffaloes just took their foot off the gas way, way, way too early, and it almost cost them.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for the fact that they left 9 seconds left in that game for Sampson to just hit that mental shot, game probably goes to overtime, and who knows what Clayton Jr. is able to do in that overtime.
A lot of winning March Madness is a lot down to luck because Micah Hanlawton, who was supposed to be in that Florida Gators team, broke his leg in the SEC tournaments. So, like, when you're saying it was so easy for them to get points inside, they're missing a big 7-footer there as well. So it's those little things that make all the difference. Well, it's quite a big thing, but you know what I mean. It's those things that make all the difference. I kind of fell in love with Florida the way they just kept fighting against the adversity and the way everything was going against them, and they just kept going and going and going. Whatever happens in March Madness, I'll always remember the way they played, and I'll consider them one of my favorite teams in this tournament.
Yeah, it was an excellent game. It
Same
gave
for Stanford.
it gave NBA vibes. I'm gonna be real with you. The
Well,
way
that's the last thing I say. When that ball was bouncing around on the rim, if you didn't think of Kawhi against the Sixers, man, you're not a basketball fan. The way it was just bouncing from
I was thinking
side to
about that a
side
little
on
bit
the
too.
rim, horrible, horrible. I know how every Toronto Raptors fan felt now, and I know how every Sixers fan felt as well, because I lived that as that ball was just bouncing from side to side.
it was a crazy game. I kid you not.
11 seed decline. To Declinus was
What, DeQuez?
Duquesne.
the Kane. It's dumb. And 6 seed BYU. Declinus pulls off a 4-point upset. This is their first NCAA tournament appearance since '77.
Jesus Christ, my mother was born in '77.
But and them winning was their first victory since 1969. It was a 55-year wait for them to win a NCAA tournament game, but they will continue dancing in round 2. What do y'all think?
Like, letting it be known that it took them 55 years, because I definitely did not know that. That's one of the only things that I didn't go looking for when it came to these games. I tried to find a little nugget for each game, but I didn't look for this one. But the fact that the Dukes, I'm gonna just call them that because I'm not about to keep trying to figure out how to say.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't even know how to say it. You could say
It's not that hard. It's just Duquesne.
Duquesne. Okay,
I,
get in
I,
there.
I don't remember that,
Duquesne.
and when I look at it, I'm trying to sound it out, and I'm like, yeah, nah.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Dukes came out with a very early punch in the face, 12-2 lead. They held a double-digit lead on multiple occasions, or a near double-digit lead on multiple occasions. Timely shooting, and what really kept them in this game was their transition basketball. They played so well in transition. Every time they was able to get to a fast break opportunity, if it was off a steal or a rebound, they were up that court in quick succession. And they played BYU's center Ali Khalifa pretty much off the floor. He only had 16 minutes and was unable to score, only able to grab 2 boards. And every time he had the ball in his hand, they were trying to attack him and get the ball out of his hands. He had 2 turnovers that both resulted in an easy bucket.
Yeah, rebound-wise, the only one who really came to play was Spencer Johnson.
Yes.
The others they couldn't deal with the physicality of Duquesne. It was always going to be a contrast of styles matchup.
Johnson with 16 boards. Yeah, he played really well. I like that both the guards from BYU, they came to play. Like, both of them had 11 points, but they both contribute in different ways. Like you said, Johnson had 16 boards. Hall had 6 assists. They were both very, very vital. It really just wasn't meant to be. Like, you also had Jake DeMichelle, who also had, I believe this is on the other team though, but he had 11 points, 4 assists, 4 steals. Day Grant had 19 points and 3 of 8
Day
shooting.
Grant was amazing from the line.
Mhm.
What did he shoots 94%.
Both teams had a young man by the name of Fusimi on their team. You got Fusimi Drum, who was on,
Duquesne.
yeah, he was on Duquesne, and then you got Fusimi Priore. I apologize to all you college students who have really, really, really bad sounding last names, but
Hmm.
the fact that Fusimi came off the bench for BYU and just was excellent. He was able to do everything that their center wasn't able to do. He was able to get some boards. He was able to get timely shots. He really came to play. He was the guy that they got the ball down to on multiple occasions in the second half, and he was the one that was able to tie the game up at 60 with a timely dunk. He was just excellent in the paint.
I mean, let's be honest, only 3 players really came to play for BYU. It was
Yeah, that's
Traore,
true.
Robinson, and Johnson.
That's
The
true.
others were just there. They got bullied. They got bullied physically. Maybe 6 deep for Duquesne, but that was enough. The only chance that BYU had when this game was coming down to the wire was to send people to the line that weren't Day Grant, but they kept sending Day Grant to the line, and he's not going to miss. That was the difference down the stretch. Duquesne pulled away, like you say, because they were red hot from 3. By the end, they were 7 from 18, and the only way that BYU were going to win that game was to sink the 3 ball, and shooting 33% against 38. It's just not going to get it done. You're not going to beat them physically. BYU were the kind of team, if they'd got past the Kane, they could have been a live danger for a couple of upsets because of the way they shoot the ball, but they just never got going. And
Duquesne
that's the
started
danger.
off with like a 9-point lead.
Yeah.
So you're right, they did get the free ball going early.
It
You know,
was
Dixon recorded free blocks.
yeah, I was just about to give him a shout out, David Dick.
That's my shout out. That's pretty cool,
I
especially
like
in a
Day.
tournament game.
They're the kind of players that I like. The ones that are kind of fly under the radar, do a
Oh,
lot of things well across the stat sheet, but are exceptional at one thing, and what he's exceptional at is free throw shooting.
I also want to give a shout out to the best player on the BYU Cougars last night. It was Jackson Robinson. The
Yeah,
6'7" senior played big minutes off the bench, leading all scores, 25 points, 5 of 11 shooting off the bench. It was
he kept
he
them alive off the bench.
yeah, he pretty much did keep them alive. He hit some big time threes in the second half to keep them very close because it could have got out of hand if they didn't have him. BYU probably loses game by like 10 to 15 points. Let's be real. Robinson hit some timely threes, and it just was unfortunate that they weren't able to get the ball back in the closing minutes to hit a decent shot. It really did come down to free throws. They kept turning over the ball, bro. Like, and once you keep turning over the ball with a team like the Dukes who play so well in transition, there's really nothing you can really do. It sucks to suck, but hey, man.
One quick last shout out just to one player. Kuznad for the Oregon Ducks became only the 3rd player to drop 40 points against a double digit seed.
Mm,
Ooh, that's
The
cool.
other 2, Wally Zeriach and Steph Curry. Keep
shout
an eye
out.
out for that kid. Keep an eye out for the Ducks. Keep an eye out for the Ducks. I like Creighton. Creighton are a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye out for them Ducks. They played the most impressive basketball of the weekend for me.
I also want to give a shout out to the Blue Devils, but I think that might not last that long because now we got to play James Madison. And after the way I've seen James Madison walk Wisconsin, I don't like our chances.
Well, James Madison is a pretty decent mid-major. Just like I guess my final thoughts are I'm glad we didn't get a chance to get into our final fours because my brackets are busted.
Yep.
Let's go, Vols. Keeping my bracket alive.
Yep. I am little baby Jesus. We got Cap No Cap here. We got Patrick Rush, and we got Big Rich, aka Res One. Thanks for watching. See ya.
See ya.